Biological Code Podcast, a podcast on Germanische Heilkunde. Today we're talking about tinnitus. This brings us to the ectoderm germ layer, where we're dealing with a functional change in the inner ear. About a year ago, Brigitte's friend Susan called her and asked about tinnitus. She constantly hears a high-pitched, loud, and unpleasant noise in her right ear, so they set out to investigate. Susan is 65 years old, postmenopausal and right-handed. Therefore, her partner's ear is affected. Or, what's also possible, a territorial hearing conflict, but this we don't know yet. A few words about the partner side or mother-child side. For right-handers, the mother-child side is on the left, and everyone else is on the right side. In Germanische Heilkunde, this is called a partner, but it can also be the father, brother, sister, the boss at work, or the nasty neighbor. So in other words, it can also be an actual enemy or opponent. Since when have you had this tinnitus? Brigitte asked. 2 to 3 days, Susan said. What happened 2 to 3 days ago? Something must have happened along the lines of, I can't believe what I'm hearing. There's no way that that's true what I just heard. And then she immediately recalled a situation that took place at work. Susan is a special needs nurse and works in a facility for people with intellectual disabilities. It was the end of her shift in the residential group where she works. It was 9 p.m., a completely normal evening. I've just had to leave the group and go home. When we special needs nurses leave at this time, there's only one night watchman from the other building left for the group. Internally, I had already relaxed and was in after-work mode, so no longer really present. And then it started. Surprisingly, Otto, a 32-year-old patient, approached me and suddenly began insulting me and speaking to me in an aggressive and provocative manner. He has been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Individuals with this condition can, at times, be highly sensitive and may react intensely in interpersonal situations. He made a personal remark that felt intentionally hurtful. I was caught off guard, as the behavior seemed to come out of nowhere and was entirely unexpected. Almost at the same time, perhaps half a minute later, Miriam, another patient, approached me from the other direction with her jukebox playing loud techno music. Miriam was also verbally aggressive, so she was coming from the other side, and it completely overwhelmed me. It must have come from the left side. That must have been the conflict, that she couldn't separate from the noises that came from both sides. So it was no territorial hearing conflict. But who was the one that she had the hearing conflict with? Was it Otto or Miriam? That day, Otto had managed to get her. For the first time in the 10 years she had been working with this group. She was exhausted and no longer had the energy to tolerate his insults, but she knew he was deliberately trying to target her vulnerable spots. But Miriam really scared me with her stupid jukebox when she suddenly came out of nowhere, she said. Otto was on the right side of Susan and Miriam was on the left with her jukebox. Susan briefly felt both, powerless and angry. Loud noise is terrible for me, she said. The perception was, as if I wasn't already tired enough. Now I have to listen to this kind of crap on top of everything else? So it's pretty clear. Both of them had crossed her personal boundaries. She saw both of them as partners, or rather as opponents. Since then, she had had this tinnitus in her partner's ear. So she's conflict active. The conflict hadn't been resolved yet. So they had identified the conflict. Brigitte asked her, can this happen again? You're about to retire soon, then this situation can definitely not happen anymore. But retirement was still a few months away. Shortly after, Susan told her that her tinnitus had changed very rapidly after their conversation. It showed up only in short bursts and wasn't as loud or as intense as before. According to her, she was able to resolve the conflict through understanding it. During the healing phase of this SBS, sudden hearing loss occurs. This means that you no longer hear exactly these frequencies. If only one ear is affected and the duration of the conflict is short, then you would rarely notice the sudden hearing loss. But occasionally, Susan, of course, got back on track. Because she had to work there every day and saw Otto and Miriam again and again, the tinnitus would come and go. So she was constantly subconsciously reminded of the conflict. A biological conflict like that completely bypasses the rational mind. The noises in her ears only completely disappeared when Miriam left the group 1 or 2 months later. Because of her aggression, they had been looking for another solution for her for quite some time, but hadn't found a suitable one. Then, suddenly, an opportunity arose for her, and she was able to leave the group. Susan's tinnitus had thus completely disappeared, which of course tells us that she had suffered the hearing conflict because of Miriam. And Miriam had always been the one who triggered the tinnitus again, as a warning, so to speak. Only when she was definitely no longer part of the group, the early warning system no longer was necessary. Otto was still in the group, but didn't trigger Susan's tinnitus, so he could not have been the cause of her biological conflict. Although Otto clearly verbally attacked her in the situation, he wasn't the cause of the conflict. It was Miriam who caught Susan off guard with her loud music in a highly dramatic and isolating way. Well, knowing the biological code sometimes turns us into little detectives. The knowledge of Germanische Heilkunde belongs in every household. If you want to learn the biological code and truly understand the 5 biological laws, you can find more information on our association's website, urkraftleben.at, or visit thebiologyproject.org. If you enjoyed this episode of the Biological Code podcast, subscribe now to follow us for more. Thank you for listening. Until next time.